Climate may have helped Viking Age expansion, but no favorable thermometer launched a fleet. The late 8th century left no Scandinavian weather station or annual economic ledger. Researchers reconstruct conditions from natural archives whose signals operate at different scales. Those records can identify opportunities and stresses, not private decisions. The question is, therefore, whether climate enabled expansion, not whether climate caused it alone. First, the popular phrase medieval warm period needs careful handling. Modern researchers often prefer medieval climate anomaly for broad, uneven patterns. Timing and intensity differed across the North Atlantic, Europe, and individual seasons. A regional average can conceal difficult years experienced by particular communities. Scandinavia itself contains long coastlines, mountains, interiors, and northern climatic zones. One climatic story cannot cover every departing group. Tree rings preserve annual growth responses to temperature, moisture, and local conditions. Scientists cross-date many samples to build chronologies extending beyond living trees. Growth remains influenced by species, soil, competition, and disturbances. The method, therefore, reconstructs environmental variables through calibrated interpretation. Lake sediments can preserve pollen, erosion signals, and other environmental indicators. Ice cores record atmospheric information from distant accumulation zones. Marine deposits reveal changes in ocean conditions at broader temporal resolution. Each archive answers a different question and carries distinct uncertainty. Agreement among independent records strengthens a regional reconstruction. Farming provides the clearest route from climate toward historical capacity. Longer or more reliable growing seasons could improve harvests in marginal northern settings. Better fodder production would help livestock survive winters and support larger herds. Surplus food could sustain specialists, leaders, crews, and travelers. Yet average warmth never guaranteed crops against rain, frost, pests, or storms. Households responded through crop choices, storage, pastoralism, fishing, and exchange. Adaptation mediated climate before climate reached political action. Prosperity can finance expansion more readily than desperation equips ships. This undermines the simple picture of bad weather driving hungry raiders outward. Severe scarcity may reduce the resources available for ambitious voyages. Favorable conditions might instead enlarge populations and elite revenues over generations. Those changes could increase both manpower and competition. Climate then becomes an indirect influence passing through social institutions. Even that chain remains a hypothesis requiring regional evidence. Consider the conventional opening date of 793 at Lindisfarne. The raid is documented in English records shaped by Christian interpretation. Nothing in those accounts attributes the attack to Scandinavian weather. Earlier maritime movement, trade, and violence already connected North Sea communities. The event became a historical marker because written observers recorded its shock. A climatic trend cannot explain why that monastery was targeted then. Ships, intelligence, leadership, and expectations of portable wealth matter more immediately. Political fragmentation abroad also created opportunities accessible from Scandinavian waters. Expanding silver networks eastward offered another powerful incentive unrelated to temperature alone. Climate could support the system without selecting its targets. Sea ice affects northern routes, especially in higher latitudes and later Atlantic expansion. Storminess, prevailing winds, and seasonal visibility also shaped voyage windows. Their historical patterns are harder to reconstruct at expedition-level precision. Broad climatic averages cannot tell us the weather on an unnamed departure day. Sailors worked with short-term conditions, waiting when necessary. Maritime knowledge and vessel design reduced risk without abolishing it. The earliest raids crossed familiar northern seas rather than in suddenly opened ocean. Later settlement of Iceland and Greenland raises climate more directly. Iceland's colonization began in the late 9th century within a viable subarctic environment. Settlers brought livestock and farming practices that transformed vulnerable landscapes. Climate influenced what could grow, but human land use drove major erosion. Greenlandic Norse settlement from the late 10th century depended heavily upon pastoral farming. Milder conditions aided access and production, while variability still imposed severe limits. Those later Atlantic cases should not be projected backward as causes of 793. They show climate-shaping expansion after maritime systems already existed. An explanation for the Viking Age's launch must precede or accompany its initial acceleration. It must also operate where early activity actually occurred. Proxy series rarely align neatly with political turning points. That mismatch does not make climate irrelevant, but it narrows the claim. Cultivation and population appear to have expanded in parts of Scandinavia before and during the period. Growth may reflect technology, organization, exchange, and favorable environments together. Pollen showing clearance records human action more directly than temperature. Larger cultivated areas can indicate opportunity while also increasing ecological vulnerability. Communities were transforming landscapes rather than passively receiving climatic gifts. Elite power further altered who controlled any surplus. Chiefs could convert harvests into feasts, followers, ships, and political leverage. Dependent households might experience obligation even during generally productive decades. Thus, identical weather could produce unequal human consequences. Climate explanations become historical only after power enters the model. Written evidence offers few direct climatic explanations for Scandinavian expansion. Annals sometimes note famine, storms, or unusual winters within Christian frameworks. Such reports are geographically selective and inconsistent in survival. Later sagas contain weather episodes shaped for narrative purposes. They cannot supply continuous observations for the 8th century launch. Natural proxies are stronger for trends, while texts occasionally illuminate lived disruption. Neither source class connects a trend directly to a specific cruise motive. Improved sailing technology increased reach, though development was gradual. Political competition rewarded leaders who distributed acquired wealth. European monasteries and towns concentrated portable valuables near navigable coasts. Trade routes connected Scandinavia with silver and luxury goods. These factors interacted rather than waiting for one climatic switch. Favorable conditions may have expanded the resource base supporting their interaction. Adverse episodes may sometimes have intensified local pressure or redirected activity. The direction of climatic influence could change across short periods. That flexibility makes climate plausible but dangerously easy to fit after events. A responsible explanation must specify region, date, archive, and proposed mechanism. Without those elements, warmth becomes atmospheric decoration rather than evidence. Current research supports environmental contribution more readily than climatic ignition. Weather affected harvests, sailing days, pasture, and risk. Climate shaped the range and frequency of those conditions over longer spans. People still chose alliances, targets, technologies, and forms of violence. No proxy record can collapse those choices into a single curve. Climate probably helped create resources and possibilities in some Scandinavian regions. It did not launch one unified Viking movement across the north. The Viking Age began through interacting systems that favorable conditions could strengthen. Climate was part of the stage, while society determined the departures.